If you have a bank account in the USA and you are an immigrant, I need you to stop whatever you are doing and watch this video right now, because something happened 10 days ago that could affect your money, your account, and your financial future, and most people do not even know about it yet. On May 19, 2026, a new executive order was signed in the United States, and inside that order, there is something that is making millions of immigrants very nervous. It says that using an ITIN number, which is the tax ID that many of you use every single day to open bank accounts, to pay taxes, to live your life legally in this country, it is now being listed as a potential red flag by financial institutions. That means banks are being told to look more carefully at accounts that use ITIN numbers. Now, I know that sounds terrifying, and I know some of you are already thinking, should I take all my money out? Should I close my account? Please do not do that. And I'm going to tell you exactly why in this video. But I also need to be honest with you. The situation is serious, it is real, and you need to understand what is happening so you can protect yourself the smart way, not the panicked way. So today, I am going to walk you through exactly what this new rule means, what your rights still are, what banks are actually doing right now, what mistakes you absolutely cannot afford to make, and the step-by-step plan to keep your money safe and your financial future on track. Let us start from the beginning so everyone is on the same page. When you first come to the USA, you quickly realize something that nobody warned you about back home. Everything here runs on your financial identity. You cannot rent an apartment without it. You cannot get a car loan without it. Some employers even check it before they hire you. And that financial identity starts with two things: your bank account and your credit score. Now, if you do not have a social security number, which many immigrants and international students do not have when they first arrive, the banking system gave you an alternative. It is called an ITIN, an individual taxpayer identification number. The IRS created it specifically so that people who do not qualify for a social security number can still pay taxes and participate in the financial system legally. Millions of people in this country use an ITIN, and until very recently, it was widely accepted at almost every major bank. Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, Citibank, all of them. That is the system that worked. And now, that system is being disrupted. Here is what the new executive order actually says, in plain English. It does not say that ITIN banking is illegal. Let me repeat that because it is very important. Using an ITIN to open or maintain a bank account is still legal. What the order does is tell the Treasury Department and bank regulators to issue guidance to financial institutions, essentially rules that say ITIN use should be treated as something that requires extra scrutiny. They are calling it enhanced due diligence. What that means in practice is that banks may start asking ITIN users more questions, requesting more documents, or in some cases becoming more hesitant to open new accounts. On top of that, the executive order also flagged foreign consular ID cards, like the Mexican matricula consular that many immigrants use, as another red flag. So if you were relying on that type of ID to access banking, you need to know that the landscape is changing. Now here is the number that should tell you how real this situation already is. Even before this executive order, in 2026, roughly 1 out of every 3 immigrant banking clients was already being asked by their bank for additional documents. 1 in 3. That is not a small number. That is a pattern that has been building for months. So what does this mean for you right now? First, let us talk about what has not changed, because this is where your protection lives. The Right to Financial Privacy Act is still in effect. That means the government cannot simply walk into your bank and look at your records. They need a court order to do that. Your financial information has legal protection. The Equal Credit Opportunity Act is also still in effect. This law prohibits banks and lenders from discriminating against you based purely on your national origin. A bank cannot simply look at where you are from and decide to deny you a service. If they do that, it is illegal. And here is the most important thing for anyone who is scared right now. If a bank closes your account for any reason, they are legally required to return every single dollar that was in that account. Every cent. Your money does not disappear. Now here's what experts are saying you should do and should not do right now. Do not close your account. I cannot say this enough. The temptation when you are scared is to take all your money out and keep it at home in cash. That is the worst thing you can do. The formal guidance from regulators to banks has not even been issued yet. Banks are still waiting for their actual instructions, which are expected sometime around mid-July 2026. Until then, no formal rules are in place. Closing your account now means you are hurting yourself for no reason. You lose your banking history, you lose your credit building progress, and you go backward financially. What you should do is get organized, right now, today. Scan and save copies of your key documents, your passport, your ITIN letter from the IRS, your lease or utility bill, your bank statements. Put them in a password-protected folder in the cloud, like Google Drive or iCloud. and also keep physical copies in a safe place. If your bank ever contacts you and asks for new documents, you want to be ready. If your bank does reach out to you asking for additional information, here is what most immigration attorneys advise. Do not ignore the letter or message, but also do not rush to hand over a massive amount of financial records without thinking it through. Read carefully what they are actually asking for. And if you are unsure, talk to an immigration attorney before responding. Sometimes banks are simply doing routine identity verification, confirming who you are, and that is completely normal. But you should know the difference between identity verification and citizenship verification. And if you ever believe a bank has discriminated against you specifically because of your immigration status, you can file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Their website is consumerfinance.gov, and they have complaint services available in over 180 languages. That is your legal tool if things go wrong. Now let us talk about something equally important, and that is making sure that while all of this is happening, you are still building your financial foundation the right way. Because here is the truth. The immigrants who will come out of this period the strongest are the ones who do not panic, who protect what they have, and who keep moving forward smartly. Let us talk about how the U.S. banking system actually works, so you can navigate it better than most. When you open a bank account in the USA, the most important thing to understand is that there are fees hiding everywhere if you are not careful. And most newcomers find out about these fees the hard way. Take Chase Bank, for example. They have the largest ATM network in the country and a great mobile app. But their total checking account charges $12 a month if you do not meet certain conditions. Either you need to receive $500 or more in direct deposits every month, or you need to keep at least $1,500 in your account at all times. If you cannot meet those conditions as a newcomer, that is $144 per year just in monthly fees. That money should be in your savings, not going to a bank. Wells Fargo is similar, $10 a month that can be waived, but again with conditions. Bank of America has a safer option for immigrants called the Advantage Safe Balance Account, which costs about $5 a month and has no overdraft fees, which makes it much harder to accidentally go into the negative. The safest option for someone just starting out, especially if you are using an ITIN and have no SSN yet, is a credit union. Credit unions are not-for-profit financial cooperatives. They tend to be the most welcoming to immigrants. They often accept consular ID cards that big banks are now rejecting. Their fees are much lower, sometimes zero, and they provide personalized service. The downside is they usually have fewer ATM locations and less advanced online banking features. But for getting started safely, they are often the best choice. Capital One 360 is another option worth knowing about. It charges zero monthly fees and has flexible requirements. The catch is you cannot deposit physical cash at a branch because it is primarily online. But if you receive payments electronically, it works very well. Now let us talk about the documents you actually need to open an account, because a lot of people go to the bank underprepared and then get rejected and feel defeated. And that rejection often had nothing to do with their immigration status. It was simply a missing document. Most major banks want two things at a minimum: a valid government-issued photo ID and some proof that you live somewhere in the United States. For the photo ID, a foreign passport works at almost every major bank. Your ITIN letter from the IRS works as a tax identification document. A foreign consular ID card used to work widely, but as we discussed, that is becoming more complicated now. For proof of address, a utility bill with your name and address works. A lease agreement works. Even a signed letter from the person you are living with, your host family, your friend, your relative, often works. The point is the bank needs to confirm that you have a physical address in the United States where they can reach you. Here is a tip that almost nobody tells newcomers. Call the bank branch before you visit. Requirements can vary from branch to branch, even within the same bank. The branch in one neighborhood might accept documents that a branch 5 miles away will not. One simple phone call can save you wasted trips and embarrassing rejections. You can also apply online at many banks. Online applications sometimes have more flexibility and less human judgment involved. Capital One, Bank of America, and others have online account opening processes that can work well for immigrants. Once you have your account open, the next most important thing to understand is the credit score system. Because in the United States, your credit score is not just a number. It is your reputation with money. It follows you everywhere. When you first arrive in the USA, you do not have a poor credit score. You have no credit score. That is actually different. You are invisible to lenders, and being invisible is almost as bad as having a bad score. You cannot rent an apartment alone. You cannot get a car loan with a good interest rate. You cannot get approved for most credit cards. Some employers in finance and government will even run a credit check before hiring you. Here's how the score actually works. The most important factor, 35% of your score, is your payment history. Did you pay your bills on time? Every single month on time, that builds your score. Miss one payment and it can drop your score significantly. The second biggest factor is credit utilization, which accounts for 30%. This means how much of your available credit you are actually using. If your credit card limit is $500 and you spend $450 on it, the system sees you as someone who is desperate for money and it drops your score. The rule of thumb is to never use more than 30% of your credit limit. If your limit is $500, try to keep your spending below $150. The remaining factors are length of credit history, meaning how long you have had credit, new credit inquiries, and the variety of credit types you have. Scores range from 300 to 850. If you are below 580, most lenders will reject you. If you are between 670 and 740, you will get approved for most standard products. If you are above 740, you get the best rates and the easiest approvals. So how do you get your first score when you have nothing? The fastest and most reliable method is a secured credit card. A secured card requires you to make a deposit, usually somewhere between $200 and $500, and that deposit becomes your credit limit. You use the card for small, everyday purchases, maybe your groceries or your phone bill. Then you pay the full balance every single month before the due date. After 6 months of doing this consistently, your first FICO credit score appears. You can check it for free on Credit Karma or the Experian app. Expect it to start somewhere between 600 and 650. The important thing about secured cards is to make sure the card reports to all 3 credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Not all cards do this. There are actually predatory products out there that charge you annual fees but do not report your payment history anywhere. You are paying money and building absolutely nothing. Before you sign up for any card, ask them directly, does this card report to all 3 bureaus? If the answer is no, walk away. Cards that accept ITIN and do report properly include the Discover It secured card, the Capital One Platinum secured card, and the Wells Fargo secured card. There is also a lesser-known strategy called the authorized user method. If you have a family member or a very trusted friend who already has a credit card in the USA with a good history, ask them to add you as an authorized user on their account. You do not even have to use the card. Just being listed as an authorized user means their credit history gets added to your credit profile. It is the fastest way to get a starting score without waiting 6 months. Another option for people who cannot get any card at all yet is a credit builder loan. Companies like Self.Inc. offer these. The way it works is you make monthly payments. The money goes into a savings account that you cannot touch yet, and at the end of the loan term, you get the money back. The whole time, your payment history is being reported to the credit bureaus. It sounds strange, paying for a loan where you get the money at the end, but it is a legitimate tool for building credit from nothing. Now let us talk about the mistakes. Because I have seen so many immigrants and students make these exact mistakes, and every single one of them is avoidable once you know about them. The first and most common mistake is staying completely outside the banking system. Some people come to the USA, they are nervous, they do not trust banks, and they just use cash for everything. I understand why. Maybe you came from a country where banks were not safe or trustworthy. But in the USA, staying unbanked is expensive. Every time you cash a check at a check cashing store, they take 1 to 3% of the total. On a $1,000 paycheck, that is $10 to $30 gone every single time, every month, every year. On top of that, you cannot build any credit history. So when you finally try to rent an apartment or buy a car, you get rejected or you pay enormously higher rates because you are invisible to the system. The second mistake is choosing the wrong bank for your situation. A lot of newcomers walk into a Chase branch because they see the name everywhere, and they open a total checking account without reading the conditions. A few months later, they are getting charged $12 a month because they have not met the direct deposit requirement and their balance is below $1,500. That is money they could have kept. The third mistake, and this one is especially important right now, is closing your bank account out of fear. After the news about the executive order, many people are panicking, and I understand that fear, but experts are unanimous on this. Do not close your account right now. No formal guidance has been issued to banks yet. No accounts are being forcibly closed. The rules that will affect banks are still being written. Closing your account today hurts you without protecting you from anything that has actually happened yet. The fourth mistake is maxing out your credit card. This is the mistake that surprises people most because they think, I have a credit card with a $500 limit. I can spend $500. Technically, yes. But if you spend your full limit, your credit utilization goes to 100% and your credit score drops significantly. Keep it below 30%, so below $150 on a $500 limit. The fifth mistake is applying for multiple credit cards at once. Every time you apply for a new card, the bank does what is called a hard inquiry on your credit. This drops your score by 5 to 10 points each time. If you apply to 5 cards in 1 month, you could lose 50 points before you even get your first card. Apply for 1 card, wait 6 months, then apply for another if needed. And the sixth mistake is getting a financial product that does not help you build credit. I mentioned this already, but it is worth repeating. In the USA, there are products specifically designed to target immigrants and beginners who do not know the system. They look like credit cards. They charge you fees, but they do not report your payments to any credit bureau. You are being charged to build nothing. Always verify. Does this card report to Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion? That question alone can save you months of wasted time and money. Now let me give you the realistic timeline so you know exactly what to expect. When you first arrive, before you do anything else, start your ITIN application if you do not already have one. This process takes 7 to 11 weeks through the IRS. Apply as early as possible because everything else moves faster once you have it. In your first month, open a bank account. Call the branch first. Bring your passport, your ITIN, or whatever ID you have, and proof of your US address. Look specifically for student checking accounts if you are a student. They typically have 0 monthly fees and no minimum balance requirements. If you are not a student, look at credit unions or Capital One 360 for the lowest fees. In months 1 to 2, apply for a secured credit card at the same bank where you just opened your account. Banks are more likely to approve you for a card if you are already their customer. Deposit $200 to $300 as your collateral. From months 1 through 6, use that card for 1 or 2 small purchases each month. Gas, groceries, something you were going to buy anyway. Pay the full balance before the due date every single month. Set up autopay to make sure you never miss. This is the most important habit you will ever build in American finance. At month 6, check your credit score on Credit Karma or Experian. You will likely see a score somewhere between 600 and 650. That is your starting line. By month 12, if you have been consistent, your score should be approaching 670 to 700. At this point, you may be able to upgrade your secured card to a regular unsecured card, or apply for a second card to start diversifying your credit. And by month 18 to 24, with disciplined habits, you are looking at a score above 720. That is the number where things start to really open up. Better apartment approvals, car loans with reasonable interest rates, and access to real credit card rewards. Now, before I close, I want to say one more thing directly to you. If you are watching this video and you are nervous about what is happening with the executive order, I want you to take a breath. The situation is real, it is developing, and it deserves your attention. But panic is not a strategy. Panic is what makes you close your account, stuff money under your mattress, and undo months or years of financial progress that you worked incredibly hard to build. The smart move is to stay informed. Follow updates from trusted legal sources, not from social media rumors where misinformation spreads faster than facts. Civil rights organizations and immigration law groups are already preparing legal challenges to this executive order. And remember, the formal bank guidance does not even arrive until around mid-July 2026. Until then, the rules for your account have not actually changed. Get your documents organized, keep copies safe, know your rights under the Right to Financial Privacy Act and the Equal Credit Opportunity Act. And if you ever feel discriminated against, file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau at consumerfinance.gov, available in more than 180 languages. You came to this country with courage. You are learning a system that even many American-born people do not fully understand. That takes real intelligence and real resilience. And the financial knowledge in this video? This is your armor. If this video helped you, please share it with someone you know who is going through the same journey. Drop your questions in the comments. I read every single one, and I will answer you. And subscribe, because we post new videos every week specifically for immigrants and newcomers who are building their financial lives from the ground up in the USA. Your money deserves protection, and now you know how to protect it.